a lot of the stuff in church, a lot of the witnessing training is aimed at preparing you to meet hostility. But I don't think there's a lot on how to meet indifference.
Yes.
When you talk and say, no, this is what I believe, what if, and everyone's like, okay, it's good for you.
Cool.
That's your truth.
Yeah. Now you even have fights in Christianity. Others are fighting for a black Jesus, others for a white Jesus.
Yeah.
We are now using racial and tribal differences to fight amongst each other.
Yeah.
Yet in Christ, we're supposed to come together and be one. You know? Yeah.
And some of the most troublesome people in church are the ones who do the least.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Have a lot of things to say about very little.
Exactly.
Because they're doing absolutely nothing.
All they have is comments.
Shut up.
I like to call them Jericho Road Christians,
Yeah,
you know, and
just Jesus and
on the Jericho Road, just Jesus and me. That song is heretic.
Somebody said to me, hey, I love that song. You shouldn't shoot down my favorite song. It's a romance.
How can it
On the
just-
Jericho Road.
there is room for just two? But on the Jericho Road,
Everyone.
going to heaven, everyone.
Yeah.
It can't just be room for two.
Yeah.
It can't just be Jesus and you.
Welcome to the Truth Tok Podcast, where we uncover the hidden truths and untold stories. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guest, and they aim to bring light to the unspoken realities of life. The content shared here is for informational purposes only, and it is not intended to replace professional advice. Listener discretion is advised. Now, to the podcast.
Hello, and welcome to Truth Tok Podcast. My name is Jason Lalazi, the soulful nerd, and
And my name is Makawelunga, the inspired content creator.
so how's it, man?
I'm good. How's it?
Yeah, I'm lekker.
You're all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got back from a trip.
I was about to ask, how was it?
I was lekker, bro. Hey, Binga's on point.
Bingo's a point.
Yeah, Binga's on
I
point.
think we should record our next episode there.
Yeah, we should go there, shoot a whole get indoors on.
Yeah, we should.
Not just talking about colonialism, but
About
all sorts of things. Mjolo, every the guy can talk about anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should go.
Quite a lot of tips there.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. I need to change my specs a little bit, but
Change them.
Okay, I'll change them in the next episode. So yeah, I got some nice specs from Specs World.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
I should visit them
You should visit them too. Yeah.
Yeah, because my eyes have issues.
Yeah, you should. Then you will be a soulful nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For specs.
Yes, from Specs World.
You know, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything except that today's episode is Israel.
Episode 13, right?
Yeah,
Dude, we are like one episode shy from
this finale.
finale. Yeah.
Ding 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 ding.
I like this. There we've gone.
Yeah, we need to get one of those sound things. So jing 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 jing. All sorts of sounds.
Exactly.
Man, that'll be cool. I don't know
Yeah.
what they call it anyway. So today's episode is Israel 2.0.
Israel 2.0.
Yeah, I know you're into AI and all that nonsense. So I thought I'd name it, give it a tech feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first question is, why didn't Jesus spread his own gospel? Why did he hire the church to do it?
Eish, bruh.
He should have done it himself.
Yeah, he should have done it himself. But anyway, I think if you notice from the beginning, the way God has worked from the beginning, from the very foundation of this world, God has, in the Garden of Eden, God entrusted Adam with stewardship of what he had created. And to me, that was a sign that God values human agency and partnership.
Okay.
So God desires to work with humanity in fulfilling his
Okay.
mission and his purposes.
Okay.
Right? It's like a father who works with his child
Mhm.
so as to teach him the way of life.
Okay.
Right? You teach someone better by allowing them to participate in what you are doing.
Okay.
So God is partnering with us. He's not just giving the work to the to the disciples and leaving them like that. No.
Okay.
He's working with them. But bigger than that for me is the idea that the power and the power and efficacy of the gospel lies in relationships.
Okay.
So if I have a relationship with you, or even if I don't have a relationship with you,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you are human,
Mm-hmm.
you succumb to the same things that I succumb to,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I used to see you spending your days at the bar, drinking like a fish, going home late, beating up your wife. Then one day I meet you, you no longer do those things, and you tell me that I met Jesus.
Okay.
That's where the power lies in.
Okay.
So God uses us human beings to transform other people's lives.
Okay.
Because when our lives have been transformed, they become a power of the gospel to those who are watching and say, if this Jesus can change this man from what he is to that, then I'd like to follow him.
Yeah, because I remember, did I share it here? A book I read. It's called Captured on Gold Mountain.
No, it wasn't here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was about a man who, he was a miner. I think in the late 1800s, or was it early 1900s in America. And then somebody gave him a Bible.
Yes.
And it changed him. He changed and he changed. And then later on, that guy said, no, I wanna become a Christian too. And he said, I got this Bible and I wasn't sure if the Bible works. So I decided I'd give it to the worst guy I knew.
Yeah.
And if it changed him, then
exactly.
I would believe in it too.
Yeah.
Which is, it's kind of like, it's a compliment, but it has shade as well. It's a shady compliment.
Yeah. I agree. So for me, that's what I think about the use of human beings in spreading the gospel.
Yeah, and also it says something about how Jesus wants us to come to faith. He doesn't want us overwhelmed into faith. Because once you bump into Jesus and he says, hi, it's me.
Yeah,
this is what and then but then at the same time, also, if people don't want to believe, even if Jesus is standing right in front of them, we talked about that many episodes back.
Yeah.
That even if someone came back from the dead, they wouldn't believe
They
anyway.
wouldn't believe, yeah. And also, I like what you're saying about us coming to the faith.
Yeah.
So Jesus spent 3.5 years with his disciples, teaching them, training them, preparing them. It's like a story I had, I can't remember where I heard it, where there's this guy who spent 4 years learning about how to fish.
Okay.
And I heard he was learning about how to fish, doing the theory, and never did the practical. Until one day an old man came to him and said, dude, I think it's time we go to the river. And they went to the river. The old man, who never did civilized or formal education on fishing, caught many fish, but the educated guy, the graduate, caught nothing.
Okay.
So it always resonates with me when that story, how I imagined it. These guys are experienced fishermen. They catch nothing. Then comes this guy and says, cast your nets to the other side. They catch a lot of fish.
Yeah.
Then he says, if you follow me, I'll make you fishers of men.
Okay.
So for 3.5 years, they follow him. They learn from him. They even get to a point where they say, teach us how to pray. These guys are Jews. They were taught how to pray from birth.
Yeah.
But they see how Jesus is praying. They're like,
hey, your prayers are...
Teach us how to pray. So if Jesus had not gone back to heaven and allowed them to turn what they learned into practical, allow them to go into the field and and actually practice what they had learned, then they wouldn't have grown in their faith. So at times after the learning, you have to go to the field and do the actual work. So also, Jesus was not just doing for others to come to him, but for them to grow in their faith. And you'll notice the difference when Peter preaches, when Paul preaches, when all these other guys preach. You can see the huge difference from the guys who were fighting during the Lord's Supper, fighting about who's the greatest, to the guys later on who are now caring about everyone, and they are so kind and nice.
Okay.
So that growth is necessary for you to move from just reading the Bible to actually go into the field and tell others of what you have learned.
Share with people, some who are hostile.
Exactly.
And well, the hostile ones are not as difficult to talk to as the ones who are indifferent.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed a lot of the stuff in church, a lot of the witnessing training is aimed at preparing you to meet hostility. But I don't think there's a lot on how to meet indifference.
Yes.
When you talk and say, no, this is what I believe, what if, and everyone's like, okay, it's good for you.
Cool.
That's your truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't argue. They don't debate. It's like, it's fine. That's your truth.
Yeah. It's interesting. Wow. Back to my life. Back to life. Back to reality.
Don't remind me of some songs.
So they go back.
Yeah.
And I think also over lockdown, a lot of people learned the importance. Well, I don't know if they had the opportunity to learn the importance of personal involvement in church stuff.
Yeah.
In discipleship. Because here in Matthew 28, verse 19 to 20, it says, "So go and make disciples of people of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Teach them to follow all the commands I have given you. Remember, I am always with you to the very end of the world." And we call this the Great Commission.
Yeah.
Okay. And so for a lot of us, a lot of us spent a lot of time and energy avoiding getting involved.
Yeah.
Let's leave it to the professionals.
Exactly.
Pastors go to school. They get paid to do this.
Exactly.
So let's just let the professionals do this while we...
And all we do is just go to church,
warm the pews,
go
home,
listen to the word, go home, and don't even open our Bibles.
Yeah. And then along came lockdown. Lockdown, you couldn't hide, you couldn't pretend. Lockdown,
you just had to work for your own salvation with fear and trembling.
You had to do it yourself. You had to do everything. I know a lady who told me that she had no idea her son could preach. And then lockdown came and he was preaching at home when they were having their own services in the family. He was preaching, like, wow, this boy can preach, really. Wow. So I don't know though about those who went into lockdown and never came back to church. How did they process it? Was there a point where they sat down and said, you know what, I've thought this through. I've read the Bible for myself and I figured, nah, this isn't for me? Or was it just, did it just happen? As in, you've already been drifting away. You've been, drifting from weekend to weekend to church. And now there's lockdown. Nobody is there to tell you, do this, do that, or to do it for you. Then you just...
The deception of going to church makes us believe that we are right with God in our spiritual lives.
Okay.
Just because every Sunday, every Saturday, every Wednesday we go to church. So we go into the church, we sit down, we listen to the word, we go back home. And that gives us a deception to think that we are in the right track spiritually.
Okay.
Until the church is taken away.
Okay.
Then you realize that you are far from God than you thought.
Uh-huh.
Because all along what you've been doing is go to church, sit, and you haven't been practicing your religion.
Okay.
You haven't been reading for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, church is not there. No one is reading for you. Mm-hmm. But remember, the human body, it's how it works. Mm-hmm. You build habits. So what you've built is a habit of sitting and listening to others.
Okay.
But now you're in a situation where you now have to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
but you're not. You can't listen to yourself.
And some people found they had nothing to say.
Exactly,
to themselves.
exactly. Because now you have to listen to yourself, but
Okay.
you have no content because you haven't been reading.
Okay.
Because we learn better when we read, when we write.
Yeah.
We learn better that way. But others just go to church. They don't read. They don't read the Bible. They don't take down notes.
Okay.
Now you are alone at home. You realize the Bible is so hard. Where do I even start?
Yeah.
I haven't been studying. So what happens then? Naturally, there's a decline in your spirituality until you are outside when you thought you were actually inside.
Okay. Man,
how
that's
bad it
scary.
is. Very scary.
Reminds me of a line from one of my favorite books, The Screw Tape Letters.
Okay.
By C.S. Lewis. And so the senior demon says to the junior demon, you guys focus too much on the big sins, murder and whatever. And he says, the smaller, well, I can't remember the exact quote, but he was saying the so-called smaller sins are just as effective as the big ones.
Oh, yeah.
Just as long as they move the person away from God. In fact, it says the best road to hell is the one without too many surprise turns, the smooth, gentle one that goes. And next thing you know, I'm so far away from God.
Yeah. And you know, one of the best ways to deal with sin and temptation is to be involved in ministry.
Yeah.
So Jesus allows those guys to work.
Get busy.
Yeah. So that they can also find something that will distract them from a continuous desire to sin. So you get busy, so you work more, and then you have less time to sin. But even if you've encountered temptation, what working for God does is it also fortifies your conscience.
Okay.
So remember, you're working daily in ministry, and already you have an influence that you have over the masses because you're working for God. You're preaching the gospel. You do not easily get into sin because your conscience quickly knocks at you. Of course, we know preachers sin and the likes, or gospel, what do you call them, praise and worship team people. They can go and sing in front of the people during praise and worship. Immediately after that, they go and have premarital sex and stuff, right? But
with other people's spouses.
Yeah. But somehow those people have a conscience that makes them keep coming back, because you can't continue working for God knowing and having some cherished sins. It's hard. That thing is hard. You can do it, but it's hard. So most of the times, either you leave the other and do the other full time, or so it's meant to help us to grow in our spiritual walk. So Christ could have done it himself, yes, but he decides to use his disciples and us so that we may be better, and those that we reach out to may be better as well.
Yeah, and some of the most troublesome people in church are the ones who do the least.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Have a lot of things to say about very little.
Exactly.
Because they're doing absolutely nothing.
All they have is comments. La, 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 la.
Shut up.
Then, okay, stand up and act.
Yeah, do something.
They can't.
What?
Yeah. And they are the Yo, I almost said something.
Yeah, you're always saying something. So, okay, so, you know how we said earlier that some people plan on having an unbalanced diet in the hereafter. What do you want to do in heaven? I want to eat grapes. You could eat grapes forever. That's not a balanced diet. That's unhealthy.
You know, when you think about heaven, people don't even think about protein. They're always thinking about
sugar.
But
anyway, so since people like grapes, and you say we have to do something, you have to get to work. Let's talk about the vineyard. Okay. So Isaiah 5, verse 1-7. I'm reading from the Contemporary English Version. It says, I will sing a song about my friend's vineyard that was on the side of a fertile hill. My friend dug the ground, removed the stones, and planted the best vines. He built a watchtower and dug a pit in rocky ground for pressing the grapes. He hoped they would be sweet, but bitter grapes were all it produced. Listen, people of Jerusalem and of Judah. You be the judge of me and my vineyard. What more could I have done for my vineyard? I hoped for sweet grapes, but bitter grapes were all that grew. Now I will let you know what I am going to do. I will cut down the hedge and tear down the wall. My vineyard will be trampled and left in ruins. It will turn into a desert, neither pruned nor hoed. It will be covered with thorns and briars. I will command the clouds not to send rain. I am the Lord all powerful. Israel is the vineyard, and Judah is the garden I attended with care. I had hoped for honesty and for justice, but dishonesty and cries for mercy were all I found.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, this is quite an interesting parable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vine.
Mhm.
So there's this vine. This gardener is looking forward to grapes.
Yeah.
Good grapes. Here on earth, not in heaven.
That's
But he's
not-
looking for grapes.
Yeah.
And he puts in everything. He cultivates, he waters, tends, everything.
Mhm.
But all he gets are bitter grapes.
Mm.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
Yeah. And I actually put it in bold here in my notes. I had hoped for honesty and for justice, but dishonesty and cries
And cry.
for mercy were all I found.
Mm.
So he got the exact opposite of what he'd
Of
hoped
what
for
he expected, yeah.
after putting in all the work.
Yeah.
Okay. And he says this is Judah and Israel.
Yes.
Now, jumping forward to the New Testament, it's quite long, but we have to read it.
Okay.
John 15, verse 1 to 17.
Mhm.
Same version. Jesus said to his disciples, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts away every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, but he trims clean every branch that does produce fruit, so that it will produce even more fruit. You are already clean because of what I have said to you. Stay joined to me, and I will stay joined to you. Just as a branch cannot produce fruit unless it stays joined to the vine, you cannot produce fruit unless you stay joined to me. I am the vine and you are the branches. If you stay joined to me and I stay joined to you, then you will produce lots of fruit. But you cannot do anything without me. If you don't stay joined to me, you will be thrown away. You will be like dry branches that are gathered up and burned in a fire. Stay joined to me and let my teachings become part of you. Then you can pray for whatever you want, and your prayer will be answered. When you become fruitful disciples of mine, my Father will be honored. I have loved you, just as my Father has loved me. So remain faithful to my love for you. If you obey me, I will keep loving you, just as my Father keeps loving me, because I have obeyed him. I have told you this to make you as completely happy as I am. Now I tell you to love each other as I have loved you. The greatest way to show love for friends is to die for them, and you are my friends if you obey me. Servants don't know what their master is doing, and so I don't speak to you as my servants. I speak to you as my friends, and I have told you everything that my Father has told me. You did not choose me. I chose you and sent you out to produce fruit, the kind of fruit that will last. Then my Father will give you whatever you ask for in my name. So I command you to love each other.
Mhm.
So is Christianity anti Semitic?
Simple answer is no.
Okay. Because a lot of people say, a lot of the way people view the church now is to say what God wanted to give Israel, he has now given to the church. So the church was kind of like it displaced Israel.
Okay, so from the two passages that you read,
Yeah.
it sounds like uh, the owner of the vineyard will then destroy the vineyard, take it out.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the New Testament, is it John 15?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like now we no longer have the vineyard, right?
Mhm.
Now Jesus is the vine. So the Jews are out. We now have Christians, those who are like Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, Isaiah and John, those two passages, they are not contradictory.
Okay.
I think they are complementary,
Okay.
right? So the Christian church must be seen or viewed as a continuation and fulfillment of God's plan.
Okay.
Rather than a replacement.
Okay.
So the Christian church is continuing God's plan. Like in Isaiah 15, Israel is the vineyard. But in John, the one is what is Isaiah
5.
Isaiah 5.
Yeah.
Israel is the vineyard. But John chapter 15, Jesus is the true vine.
Yeah.
And for me, this depicts a shift in the way God's people must relate to him.
Okay.
So they no longer come to him through ethnic and national identity, but they come to him through Jesus.
Okay.
And Jesus, therefore, in Jesus, he connects all nations of the world.
Okay.
Whereas in Israel, when Israel was the vineyard, you'll notice that they would cast away Gentiles.
Okay.
Right? They just wanted Israelites,
Yeah.
Yet, of course, God had called them to be a light to the rest of the world. But then they used I think we talked about it in previous episodes, how superiority can make someone think that they are the only ones who are chosen and everyone else is cast out.
Yeah.
Right? But in Jesus, that's why I think in Romans 11, he uses the metaphor of an olive tree to say that he cuts off branches which don't bear fruit, and then graft branches which are not from this tree, which are the representation of the Gentiles. So he grafts them in, right? But then later on, I think it's around verse 23 and stuff of Romans chapter 11, he then mentions that he's even willing to, well, this is my paraphrase, he's even willing to graft back those branches that have gone away if they bear fruit. Right? So in Christ Jesus, Gentiles and Jews, or let me put it this way, Christianity and Jews come together. So Christianity is not anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic. It's not anti-Jew. It's pro-Jew. In the sense that we are still founded in the basic principles that God presented to the Jewish. And there is no cut, there is no replacement. It's still a continuation of God's plan from Eden to Eden up to the end of time.
Okay, I like that. Because the first thing that jumps out at me when I read John 15, Jesus says, I am the vine.
Exactly.
So
you are the branches.
So Jesus says, no, I am Israel.
Yeah.
He's the one who achieves what Israel couldn't. Because in the previous episode, the runaway bride, we showed that the Bible showed that Israel was meant to be part of God's solution.
Exactly.
But it had gone wrong.
Exactly.
But in many ways, they became part of the problem.
Exactly.
As well. So the question is, how does God resolve Israel's problem? And yet at the same time carry out his covenant going forward. And the New Testament repeatedly produces Jesus as the solution.
Exactly.
So Jesus says, no, I am the new Israel.
I am the new Israel. Yes.
So now I'm going to be the one to join the old Israel in the Old Testament. And this new Israel that I'm kicking off. This new church that I'm kicking off. I want them to be one people. Okay. And so that's where we're supposed to find common ground.
Exactly.
And Christianity's failed at that.
It has failed
over the years.
That's why we now even have fights in Christianity. Others are fighting for a black Jesus, others for a white Jesus. We are now using racial and tribal differences to fight amongst each other. Yet in Christ, we're supposed to come together and be one. You know? So the devil is so cunning, man.
He can use facts to build a wrong picture.
Exactly. Even if it's a fact, we end up focusing on
the minor stuff.
Stuff that really doesn't save. Yet the purpose why Christ came, actually the purpose why Christ called the church, or even called Israel,
Uh-huh.
was to seek and save
The lost.
the lost.
And we gotta take a break. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Hope you can change your specs. Hello, and welcome back to our episode Israel 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just done talking about let's see, let me find myself. Oh yeah, we're talking about the vineyard.
The vineyard.
The
Yeah.
vine. To say that when God created the church, it wasn't because he was over and done with Israel.
No.
Yeah. So this idea that Israel is old news is wrong.
No.
Because Jesus has always been the true vine. Because it says, I am the true vine.
Yes.
I'm the one who
Yes.
starts this thing.
Yes.
It finds its beginning in me.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm the one who's going to finish this thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whoever was being used to further this thing
Yeah.
was not the vine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Israel was just
A branch.
A branch.
Yeah.
A channel through which my blessings flow to the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about a cure for blindness. That's the next section.
Okay.
A cure for blindness. And we're looking at a guy who didn't quite like this whole new church idea. His name was Paul. And he was, Saul at the time. And he was going left, right, and center.
Okay.
Planning to get rid of the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had gone to Damascus. But on his way, he had a strange meeting.
An encounter.
With Jesus. Knocked him off his horse. So anyway, Acts 9, verse 5 to 8. I'm reading from the New English Translation.
Yeah.
It says, So he said, Who are you, Lord? He replied, I am Jesus whom you are persecuting. But stand up and enter the city, and you will be told what you must do. Now the men who were traveling with him stood there speechless because they heard the voice but saw no one. So Saul got up from the ground, but although his eyes were open, he could see nothing. Leading him by the hand, his companions brought him into Damascus. Jumping over one verse, we come to verse 10. I'm going to read from 10 to 15. It says, Now there was a disciple in Damascus called Ananias. The Lord said to him in a vision, Ananias, and he replied, Here I am, Lord. Then the Lord told him, Get up and go to the street called Straight, and at Judas' house look for a man from Tarsus named Saul. For he is praying, and he has seen in a vision a man named Ananias come in and place his hands on him, so that he may see again. But Ananias replied, Lord, I have heard from many people about this man, how much harm he has done to your saints in Jerusalem. And here he has authority from the chief priests to imprison all who call on your name. But the Lord said to him, Go, because this man is my chosen instrument to carry my name before Gentiles and kings and the people of Israel. Why did God not heal Saul on the spot? Why get Ananias to go and pray for Saul?
Wow. So
He struck him and fell off his horse. Hi, it's me, I'm Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Saul is okay. So you're Jesus, you're Lord.
Yeah.
Why did he say, okay, fine. Sorry about your eyesight.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to Specs World.
Yeah.
You can, you can get your eyesight now.
Yeah.
But he tells him, no, get into the city. Then while he's there in the city, he goes and talks to Ananias. Says, no, go and pray for Saul. I mean, that's...
so for me, okay, if ever there is anything that's humbling in life, is when you have to rely on someone to help you. Think about a man who's macho, masculine. He doesn't need anyone in life. He's got his own things, right? Even that man treats his wife with contempt.
Yeah.
He just doesn't care, right? He will tell you, I don't need anyone's help.
I'm in demand. I can get another wife.
that kind of guy,
Yeah.
macho guy.
In 2 seconds. Yeah.
Exactly. And he all of a sudden falls sick.
Ooh.
And he now needs someone to be carrying him from point A to point B.
Yeah. Put his ankles together, raise them up to help him in the toilet.
He can't even bath himself.
Yeah.
Now someone has to bath him. You know, you can't even feed yourself.
Yeah.
Now someone has to feed you. You know what that does? It humbles you.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, it teaches you that life is not all about you.
Yeah.
Life is all about community.
Impilo iviri.
Yes, exactly. So when you get to a moment where you have to rely on someone to help you carry on in life, that's humbling. So for me, God allowed that to happen to Saul, so that Saul could get to a point where he has to rely on someone for help. That was a humbling moment for Saul.
So the church is not about superstars.
No.
It's not about superstars.
It's not about superstars.
It's not a place for or deputy Jesus.
No.
You know, some people in church act like, you know, a Bible was written in Gibo. You know, I know Kula no Moses. No Elijah.
Yeah. Yeah, there are people who act like that.
Isaiah. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen that a lot in church where we have, and some people have succumbed to their fame in church.
Victims of their own faith.
Yeah, because
religious entertainment.
And
yeah, the other stuff we can't talk about.
Yeah, because you think you are a superstar in church. We don't have, like, you think that in church there is Marvel cinematic universe for the superstars who go around. They have superpowers. So when they come to the church, everyone has to worship them. No, God humbles you. You remember Paul later on in life, he begs God to take away the thorn in the flesh, and God says, nah, man.
My grace is sufficient.
Exactly. To keep you humble.
Yeah.
So I think in this case, Paul was forever grateful for how Ananias treated him. And I think it gave him a lifetime lesson that was very, very essential for his ministry going forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also for Ananias, it was important.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Can you imagine you're praying to God, please protect us from this man named Saul. He's coming to finish us. And then God says, no, actually, I want you to go and pray for him. I mean, imagine being sent by God to go and pray for your ex-girlfriend to get her eyesight back.
Well, she was a good girl. I would go and pray for her.
Okay. But a lot of people would be.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of
Are
people
you joking?
Actually, if
kidding?
God was to say, go and pray for the president you hate.
Yeah.
Like, or for your in-laws. You know, there are other people who have very terrible relationships with their in-laws more than with their ex-girlfriends.
Yeah. Given a choice between in-laws and ex-girlfriends, I'll pick ex-girlfriend
any day.
And imagine God says, no, and go and pray for somebody who's baying for your blood. Because Paul had letters from the high priest to say, you can arrest, you can do whatever you like with these guys.
Yeah.
And God says, no, I want you to go and pray for that guy to get his eyesight back. I mean, that kind of lesson is,
It's I think, okay, so for Ananias, I think it also was an opportunity for spiritual growth, in the sense that this guy, God has plans with this guy for mission. You know, if you read what they later did, this is the same guy, Ananias. Is it the same guy who Barnabas?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Okay, I can't remember what I read. But this guy had a lot of work to do. Of course, he's a non and stuff before we get here.
Okay.
But now, so God was teaching him a lesson that when I send you, do not look at your fear and your prejudices.
Yeah.
Because I empower you. So whatever your fears are, shouldn't come in the way of my sending you. Because this guy that I'm sending you to, you remember he actually, I think you read that, where he actually says, but God, you want to send me to a guy. This guy is killing people. God said, no, go. I have sent you. So you have your fears, you have your prejudices and stuff. But God is saying, when it comes to the gospel, put those behind you and march ahead. And the second bit to it, of course, is I think it helped in the sense that the fact that Ananias is the one who's going to pray for this guy builds an environment for Paul to be accepted into the community.
Yes.
Because there was no way they could have accepted him if probably they had not seen if probably Ananias hadn't come with his daughter to say, no, God sent me. I actually went there, I witnessed the guy was blind. He was actually helpless. I helped him and he thanked me after, and we even had a meal together. So because back in the day, they would use any strategies to penetrate the Christian circles and community. Remember, Christians here would hide and be unknown. So he could have used any strategy to
consider
penetrate.
the threat to the emperor cult.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
even though the Gospels present Jesus, they present him as a counter to Caesar.
Exactly. Exactly. So they would have done anything to kill these Christians, these early Christians.
And also, I mean, if you'd asked Ananias before this incident, top 10 list of people whom you think would never convert to the way. You've probably had his ex-girlfriends there and his bosses, people owed him money. And at the top of the list, he'd have had Saul.
Exactly.
And so now he learns that, no, this gospel has the power to change anyone. The least likely, the person you think is least likely to change can change.
God works in mysterious ways. The gospel can change the worst. You remember Jonah?
Yeah.
Jonah knew that the gospel can change anyone. And he's sent by God. He's like, I'm not going to preach them.
I don't want those guys to change. I want them headed for destruction. I don't want them headed for...
Exactly.
And also, a very important thing that we learned from the story is that, Lone Ranger Christians are just not biblical. Me and my sweet Jesus. Hey, exactly. I don't have to go to church. I can just worship Jesus at home. And that's not in the Bible.
Yeah,
wherever you got that from, you didn't get that. You didn't get that from the Bible.
You didn't get that from the Bible.
You have to go to the community.
Lone Ranger Christians. I like to call them Jericho Road Christians. And
just Jesus and
on the Jericho Road, just Jesus and me. That song is heretic.
Somebody said to me, "Hey, I love that song. You shouldn't shoot down my favorite song." It's a Ramang.
How can it?
On the Jericho Road,
there is room for just two. But on the Jericho Road,
everyone
going to heaven, everyone. It can't just be room for two.
Yeah.
It can't just be Jesus and you. Business.
Jesus is the source. He's the vine.
Exactly.
But the church is the channel.
Like the woman at the well. Yeah. The woman at the well is told and stuff, and she sees the Messiah and she's like, I can't listen to this alone. She runs back into the city. Something striking about that woman. She forgets. Remember, she had gone to the well at a time when no one goes to the well.
Yes.
Because she was afraid of the people's comments and stuff. But at this moment, she goes back to those people and says, I don't care what you're going to say about me.
Yeah.
But I've found a man.
You must come and listen to this one.
Listen to this
one. Yeah, because she's like, I've found a man and everything's well. You found. This is what else is new?
What else is new to you? You always find man.
But there's something about
her. Something about this man. Yeah. He's different. They're like, if this woman says, let's go and see. Yeah. So I think this Lone Ranger Christian business, doesn't work.
Yeah. So people think, no, I can just read my Bible at home and worship, align to themselves. It's not in the Bible.
It's not in the Bible.
Yeah. So I don't know what Bible you're reading at home.
Hebrews 10, I think, 23, 24 actually says, do not forsake the gathering together.
Yeah.
Because in gathering together, you are provoked to love. Because you get to see those who are hungry.
The ones you can't love.
The ones you can't love.
And those are the ones that God
You're
says, I
totally
want you to learn.
Yes. And then the next verse then says also so that you can be sharpened. I'm putting it in my words.
Yeah,
That you can grow in your spiritual walk when you exchange ideas with others.
yeah.
Because you can read the Bible at your home and read and have your own interpretation.
Yeah.
Until you come and sit with Jason and says, no, but I think I understand it this way.
Yeah.
In exchange of ideas and discussion.
Everyone can sing in the shower. But when you get to practice and the director says, you're saying the song, you need to sing it. Yeah. I don't know where you got that note from. So you need others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can't play the music of God's love. You can only play a note here and there. There are notes that you need other people to play for you, so you have this whole piece together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's winter right now. The Bible even says two are better than one.
Yeah.
But
I wondered how long it would be before we went there.
Generally in life, it can't be a long range. Two are better than one.
Yeah. So anyway, going to the two are better than one.
Yeah.
It says here, if your brother sins against you, go and confront him while the two of you are alone.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Matthew 18, verse 15 to 20. If he listens to you, you have won back your brother. But if he doesn't listen, take one or two others with you, so that every word may be confirmed by the testimony. And I've put this in bold in my notes. By the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If, however, he ignores them, tell it to the congregation. If he also ignores the congregation, regard him as a Gentile and a tax collector. I tell you with certainty, whatever you prohibit on earth will have been prohibited in heaven, and whatever you permit on earth will have been permitted in heaven. Furthermore, I tell you with certainty that if 2 of you agree on earth about anything you request, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. Because where 2 or 3 have come together in my name, I am there among them.
Exactly.
I am there among them is temple talk.
Mm-hmm.
Temple language.
Let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. Yeah.
So this is a very radical thing Jesus is saying, because his audience here understands God is found at the temple.
Yeah.
God lives in the temple.
Yeah.
And then Jesus says, when he says he's first of all, he's putting himself in God's shoes.
Yeah.
To say, no, in terms of ontology, the ontological divide.
Yes.
In terms of being, I'm now standing with God. Now I say, in order for me to stand with you, you have to be together in an atmosphere of reconciliation.
Exactly. So God's presence is such that it's there where 2 or more are gathered in his name.
Yeah.
Right? We always think that God's presence is where there is a church building. We, sometimes the way we revere church buildings.
Yeah. It's almost superstitious.
Superstitious. I've seen some churches which actually will tell you that do not stand on that area. It's holy place and that. I understand that whole
we have to respect
God, and stuff from. But Christ is saying, my presence is much, much felt, if I were to put it that way.
Okay.
Where 2 or more are gathered in my name. So the understanding that the church is not a human institution, but a divine channel through which heavenly blessings come to us. And they come even better when we are gathered together. To show that God values relationships and community. He just doesn't value your relationship with him only, the vertical relationship, but also the horizontal relationship. So for the vertical relationship to exist, because to me it's seemingly saying, I will come down from heaven to dwell with you when you are right with your brother. When you are not right with your brother, then probably my coming down to dwell with you. So Christ is saying, I can only dwell in your presence when 2 or more come together. I think that's why there's a part in the Bible which says that when you're about to give an offering and you remember that you have wronged your brother, leave the offering, go make things right, then come back. Because God values relationships, and that's why He instituted a community where we gather together to be together. And God likes that.
Yeah, I like that. And also, I notice here in the text when he says, "Whatever you prohibit on earth will have been prohibited in heaven.
Yeah.
Whatever you permit on earth
Yeah.
will have been permitted in heaven."
Yeah.
This attitude of reconciliation
Exactly.
brings heaven and earth together,
Mm-hmm.
which is what was in Eden,
Mm-hmm.
and which is what will come at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to prepare to live in the new earth, go to church.
Exactly.
So if you're sitting at home, uqambela amanga, uthi, hey mina, hey, and sitting at home, to be quite honest, is it's a delusion,
Yes.
and it's also lazy because it's just a way of avoiding the hard work
Mm-hmm.
of learning how to get along with even people whom you can't stand.
Exactly.
Nowhere does Jesus say, no, you have to go and like this person.
No.
He said, you guys have to love each other,
Have
which
to
is
love each
different.
other.
The kind of love he's talking about is not, it's not the kind of love that a child gives his mom because she's been feeding him for the past 9 years, and he says, I love you, mom. Yeah, duh, you've been, but it's the kind of love that's a principle. It's a commitment to say, I'm going to live for your better, or I'm always going to look out for ways of looking out for your good.
Exactly.
Despite however I feel about you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Of course, I don't think we should be in church saying, look, I can't stand you, but I'm going to do
it just.
yeah.
No, at some point it has to get to a point where it's genuine.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you get the your feelings. So I heard a psychologist say, your feelings tend to follow the way you tend to think and behave.
Yeah. That's true.
Now, somebody else being quoted by Eugene Peterson in Eugene Peterson's book, it's called A Long Obedience in the Same Direction. And I can't remember the guy he quoted. He said, the Bible doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't talk about your feelings. Just says, do this, and of the small print, the fine print says, and your feelings will tend to follow.
Yeah.
So God is more about building you up. He's not. God isn't about making you feel good. He's about making you be good. Yeah, which is different.
Yeah. And I always wonder why. Now it makes sense after this discussion. Why Christ says the church is His body.
Yeah.
Because if all the different parts come together, we make up the body of Christ.
Yeah.
Which is the church.
And I like the fact that when he talks about his church here, he talks about conflict.
Yes.
He doesn't say my church will not have conflict.
No.
He says my church will have reconciliation after conflict.
Yeah. There are days when you're trying to eat and you bite your tongue.
Yeah.
Conflict within you.
You can't even watch a movie that doesn't have conflict.
Yeah.
Which is the problem with some movies that try to the problem with some movies with what they like to call strong female characters, which are just really unrelatable, because the character doesn't have anything to overcome, and so you can't identify with the character. So the movie is boring because their victories are meaningless. Yeah. So every story has conflict, because I think all of us as human beings know that life has conflict. So when somebody tells me that, at our church we always get along with each other and we never have problems, like, your church is fake.
There are people.
Yeah, shut it down.
Yeah. There are people who try and avoid conflict.
Yeah.
And say we want to be happy with each other, no conflict and stuff. But it is in conflict that you get to learn lessons, to grow together, to appreciate one another. And there are people who usually, when they see conflict, they say, no, I'm leaving. This isn't the right place. I'll look for a place where there is no conflict.
Good luck.
You will never find a church where there is no conflict.
Yeah. You're gonna have problems. We're gonna step on each other's toes.
Exactly.
It reminds me of the time I went to Lower Six Camp,
Uh-huh.
and we were put in groups of 12,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had gun poles.
Uh-huh.
So there was a little obstacle course that we had. So the 11 had to carry one person
Okay.
on the pole, and then everyone in the team had to have a chance to sit on the pole
Okay.
and go. And the team I was in won, but
Yeah.
just to get that out of the way, and we won. But you're carrying this person, right?
Mm.
So when you go the first time round, man, this is
Easy.
And
It's easy. Yeah.
when is the fifth one? No, because the first one, this shoulder gets tired,
Yeah,
you
you
shift to
change.
the other
Yeah,
shoulder. But
yeah.
then now both shoulders are painful. They're
Yeah.
still painful.
Yeah.
Someone is stepping on you,
Ish.
and I heard swear words. I learned new swear words. And some of the new ones that I learned were coming from me. Like, I was the combinations, but you got to keep moving. You got to keep going.
And some
and
of them
carry.
you still use them.
Yeah. I'm a good boy now.
Okay.
So and after that, the camp leader, director, whatever, says to us, "I wanted you guys to learn a lesson. Yeah, you step on each other's toes. Your body is aching.
Yeah.
But you've got a common goal. You can't get to the goal without your teammates.
Exactly.
So everything we did was all about. It's not about who finishes first, but it's about getting across the finish line together.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're not. There is no Lone Ranger thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know how this crept into Christianity. This idea that Christianity is it's only about how God and me do it. And even the approach to prayer, I've heard some people say some really dumb things. I'm sorry to say, really dumb things, dumb ideas, and then you query them about it, and they say, "I've had a conversation with God about it." Like, no, you didn't have a conversation with God about it. You just opened your mouth and blabbed out, and you told God His opinion. Yeah. God, if I want your opinion, I'll give it to you.
Yeah. And after telling God, you thought that God talked with you.
Yeah. No, you've got to have some accountability system around you.
Exactly. And that's the purpose of the church.
Yeah.
To keep you accountable.
Yeah. To ask you as the elder, not you, but I mean, just as an elder. Ask the elder, why do you have to counsel women in hotel rooms and in cars?
Exactly.
Is the signal from heaven stronger there? Why don't we counsel women where we can see things? What's going on? And we need to talk about that. Or I notice that every time you have a problem, your breath smells of alcohol. Yeah,
exactly.
Do you want to talk about that?
Do you want to talk about that?
What's going on?
Yeah.
As opposed to a situation where everybody says, no, don't dial. We can't approach.
Yeah.
And that's a failure. And I think over lockdown brought this out to people that the church had failed them.
Yes.
Yeah. And I disagree with those whose solution was to break away and go away and never come back
and bash the churches.
The solution was worse than the problem.
Yeah.
But I agree with those who said, no, look, why don't we go back to the Bible?
Yeah.
And try to do things the way Jesus said we should do it.
Exactly. And so I think we should just be part of a community.
Yeah.
Wherever you are. I think find a church nearby.
Yeah.
Join that church.
Yeah.
And start from there.
Yeah.
You can't survive alone.
Yeah.
You can't.
No, you can't.
Start from where you are. But the best church that you can go to is the church that God prescribes in the Bible.
Yeah. The one that's closest to what you find in the Bible.
Closest to what you find in the Bible. I think we are probably going to talk about this in the next episode, we talked about it in previous episodes.
Planned violence for the next episode. Yeah.
Yeah, but God's church is all about community.
Yeah.
It doesn't exclude anyone.
Yeah.
Everyone is called. Everyone is welcome. Everyone has to be part of this huge thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what God designed from the beginning. That even when He created Adam, you remember He says it's not good.
Yeah.
For this guy to be alone.
Alone. Yeah.
Who are you to think it's good that you be alone?
If Paul, the guy who wrote so many books of the Old Testament, I mean, of the New Testament,
Yeah.
had to have somebody come and pray for him. Who are you
To think that you can pray for yourself.
with your thick Bible in the corner of your house, stupid, to say
Yeah.
that you could do it yourself? Doesn't
There
make
are
any sense.
times when you need someone to pray for you.
Yeah, yeah,
For example, the Bible even says the prayer of a righteous man
yeah.
avails much. So
Yeah.
probably you are not as righteous. And that's why things are not going well in your life, because your prayers are not availing much.
Yeah, yeah.
So you need someone within your community of faith to come and pray for you. Peradventure, God hears their prayer on your behalf. And flip side, we have a problem with church people or non-church people who think that when they pray, it's never hear them praying
For anybody else. Yeah.
It's just me and Jesus alone.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Shopping
God give
list.
me this, God give me that. I think I can give our viewers a challenge.
Yeah.
Try a 10-day prayer challenge.
Pray for somebody
where
else.
you pray for 10 days praying for somebody else and not you.
Yeah. Let's see how that works.
See how that works. Yeah.
And so we've come to the end. The last point in my notes that I put down, I said the church isn't about removing people, but God's vehicle for his reconciliation agenda.
That's powerful. In my notes, the last point I said, the church as the body of Christ is integral to the believer's spiritual journey, providing a structured and supportive environment for growth, discipleship, and mission.
Okay, wow. So we're out.
We're out.
See you next time for the violent program.
For the finale.
Season finale.
Season finale.
Yeah,
Yes.
And
Good discussion.
I've got to get my own specs.
Oh, you gotta get your own specs.
Yeah.
Specs what?
Yeah.
They will make you look like a nerd. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to like, subscribe,
share.
And check out the music as well.
Yeah. Good music.
Good music, yeah.
Sure.
Later.